Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I want to show you an idea that you might want to add to your repertoire with the black pieces. So this idea will come from the Sicilian defense, namely the Rossolimo variation, and it's a line that has been becoming really popular as of late. And basically, they started investigating a line that was sort of known as dubious or not the best for black. And with the help of computers, they found these really interesting ideas that I want to share with you today. This actually has been happening a lot in modern chess, where they sort of revive these old dubious lines, and today I will show you one of those. So the Rossolimo starts with the normal Sicilian moves, this variation with knight c6, and this is the Rossolimo with bishop b5. So in general, white is not going for the open Sicilian, and instead is going for some more positional approaches. And the line starts with this move d6. So in terms of popularity, the most popular moves are g6, which was heavily debated in the 2018 World Championship match. And then we have e6, which was heavily debated in the 2012 World Championship match, I think. And then we have this move d6. And this move was always known to be sort of in the sidelines and not really one of the main established moves. So white castles. We'll come back to this position and investigate some more moves, but white typically castles. And we have to go for this move, bishop d7. Okay, this is the first important part. So if we go for a6, which is sort of natural, trying to kick away the bishop is going to give itself away. And the point is that white is coming through with this move e5, and he'll just get a great structure. For example, if we take, he just takes back with the knight, and we're left with these awful pawns. And if we go d5, this is a very instructive mistake, especially in the lower levels. Like, this structure might seem solid, and we have the bishop pair and whatnot, but in reality, white plays this move h3 to stop us from actually giving up our bishop back on g4. What happens is that, let's say we go e6, we could also get the bishop out. That's not really the point of the position. It'll be similar. The point is that this structure is actually much worse than it seems, and white just has a huge lead in space and development. So after some natural moves, white, let's say, can go for this plan of going after the c5 pawn. Very standard stuff. Let's say we try to protect it. Queen e1, he just trades the queens, and we are dead. Like c4, take, knight c5. It's not even that we're dropping any material. I mean, white could have taken a pawn there, but it's not even about that. It's just about this bishop being hideous. And it's not only about that either. Like, white has space, white has the squares, white has everything. Even if you exchange these two pieces, get them off the board, white still has a very large advantage. So we can't go for this a6. We have to go for bishop d7. And the only point of this is to try and recapture with the bishop. Now white goes rook a1, and we go for this move a6. So very quickly, the main line goes knight f6, the old main line, knight f6, c3, a6, bishop f1. And now white is coming through with this move d4, just grabbing all the space in the center. So people go for bishop g4. And the idea is just to part ways with this bishop and then set up with g6, bishop g7, and try to stop white from going d4. That is usually achieved, at least in the beginning. White usually goes for d3 here, but he's just slightly better. This position is also playable. It's a known direction, but white is supposed to be slightly better with the bishop pair. So that's pretty much all for that line. That's honestly all that I've known for a long time. But now recently people started going a6, and let's see what the idea of this is. So first of all, we're going to play this move e5. This is already aimed at stopping some ideas with c3, d4. It doesn't stop them, at least not by itself, but it will with our forthcoming moves. So now we go for this really funny move, bishop e7. So, if we're just blitzing all this out on the board, your opponent will probably start to wonder whether you have some crazy prep, and in this case, we will. So why are we developing the bishop before the knight? Well, let's see. White has two moves here. He can go for d4 immediately or h3 first. Of course, when I say like he has two moves, like he has many other moves, but the two critical moves, let's say, are either d4 immediately or preparing d4 by going h3. H3 is usually like helpful in these positions because if you go d4 too quickly, this happens with bishop g4, and now the center is sort of loose, and this could be a problem. Nevertheless, this is the main line in our current line because like we also did some weird funky stuff, right? Like bishop e7, we're not really, we haven't castled yet, so it's a bit weird that we're just moving our bishop twice. But that's what makes the line fun as well, is that this works, especially, I mean, greatly with the help of computers. And yeah, you'll see how crazy the main line gets in a moment. Now, there's this game Nakamura Caruana from Norway Chess actually last year, 2025, where Naka took on e5. This is not critical. Now we solve the space issue, so we don't have a space disadvantage. And after some natural moves, they just made a draw. Like Fabi took on f3. Okay, he gave away the bishop pair, but then the knight on d4 is so strong that Hikaru just took it right back. And I don't know if this was the classical game. I could have checked it, but basically they made a very simple and I will assume quick draw. Instead, d5 is the main move and the only one that can cause any real trouble. We go knight d4, of course. And now white has this problem that we're taking on f3. So the main line is white going bishop e3, take, and sure, we have shattered his pawn structure here on the king's side, but white argues that, again, we're spending so much time moving the bishop back and forth, and we haven't completed our development yet, that he will be able to capitalize on this. And now, there's even two moves that I would like to propose. So the craziest move that actually inspired me to make this video is this move bishop h5. We can start with this. Now, the bishop is, I mean, it looks misplaced here, but it's not. So the point is that we're going to move the knight, usually to h6, actually, not even to f6. And we're going to break with f5, castle, and just try and raid white's king. So the most precise move here that like 99% of your opponents won't know already is this queen a4 check. b5, queen b3. And white is trying to provoke this weakness on the queen side so he can start to create some play of his own here with a4. Before that, let's just look at knight d2, which is the most natural move. I mean, knight c3 is sort of similar. We go knight h6. Again, sort of this funky, crazy style, but the idea is that we don't want to get in the way of playing f5. And as we'll see like shortly, taking on h6 is never a good idea for white. We'll see this in other lines. For now, let's say he goes rook c1, which is a natural move. Queen c2, we go f5. I put this idea sort of as a sample line of white trying to exchange the queens to at least like relieve some pressure off his king. I mean, black is mostly living on borrowed time here because we're arguing that like white doesn't have any immediate, like we don't have weaknesses that can be exploited that quickly. Like it's basically the pawn on b7 and maybe the c file, and that's pretty much it. So for example, queen c7 makes sense. Okay, we can take, we can also go queen e8, but let's say we take, and go knight g4. And we're just fine. We're absolutely fine, probably playing for more than a draw, which is great with the black pieces. And if he takes on h6, yeah, this is usually just good for us. I mean, I think this was the best line of the computer in this specific variation, even though black is a pawn up, and he was already giving like some slight advantage to black. So instead, okay, queen a4 is the critical move, which again, like most of your opponents, by far the majority won't know. b5, queen b3, knight h6. Again, the same thing, a4, and now is the really important detail here in this line that I assume that people before, like, I don't know, like 20 years ago or something, like they had no idea about this this idea that black is going to employ right now. And actually, it's not even the only idea, but the crazy move here, and the best move, is to castle. A takes b5, and we're not even recapturing anything. We're going rook b8. So straight up giving white another pawn. And this is crazy. This is crazy, guys. Like, if you can catch your opponent in some prep like this, they're cooked. They are toast. So we go f5, and basically our initiative is just really strong. For the time being, we might be threatening f4 in some cases, and his bishop has to go to a7. That could be interesting. But in general, we could also just take on e4, and again, hop in with knight g4, and we're just going to try and like take white's king by storm, pretty much. So the main line, and this was a game that was played yesterday, by the way, in the Graz Open in Austria. And I was just checking some games, and it's really funny that this line appeared because I already wanted to, like, I already had this idea in mind. And the game followed knight d2, fe4. So now white takes on h6. Probably forced because if pawn takes knight g4, if knight takes, the pawn on f3 is dropping. So he takes and takes on e4. Of course, our king is completely, like, it's wide open as well. Okay, takes on f3, and he played bishop g2. Best according to the computer is knight g3, h5, rook e3, bishop g4. But even this stuff is pretty scary. I mean, it's scary for both sides, to be honest. But like, white's king is definitely less safe because we're gonna go h4 and king h8, and then rook g8, and yeah, we'll keep going. But I want to show you how the game continued because it was pretty interesting. So black took the knight, which was clever. Because it's a much better defender of white's king. Now he provokes some weaknesses, and after a couple moves, we get this incredible moment where white goes rook f1, and this is a blunder according to the computer. Of course, it's the most natural move, and white is trying to break free a little bit with f4, which he tried to do, right? Rook c1, f4. And now black, that had been playing like blitzing out almost every move up until here, just faltered because he either wanted to make the draw or he just thought the position was a dead draw. But black has a beautiful move here to win the game. And I could give you a couple seconds, but I think most people would need a couple minutes or hours. And yeah, the winning move is the only move. It's this bishop f2 check. Crazy stuff. White has to take with the king because otherwise there's this mate here on g1. So king f2, and now rook c2, and we're crashing through, like taking the bishop, so white has to interpose. But now we take on f4, and like everything is just falling apart. There goes the queen, there goes the pawn as well. This is done for. It's pretty simple, and black had he had like 50 minutes, or I can't remember how much, but it's a crazy mutual blindness type of blunder because black traded, and okay, they made a draw after a couple moves. Okay, it's still kind of a weird position to make a draw in, but basically, yeah, this pawn also counts and so on. As long as white is not getting directly mated, like, he should be all right. Anyways, that's for bishop h5, which, yeah, is my main direction. It's pretty interesting. Then we also have bishop d7, which is the more, like, reasonable move because the bishop, seems to be better on b7. Two moves here. Knight d2, again, is the main one. f4 also exists. And now again, it's important that we go for knight h6. The computer also says knight f6 is possible. But this is, I mean, weird and scary. This is really scary because, like, we basically are putting, like, all of our chips into the fact that we can take the pawn. If we cannot take the pawn, we would be lost, actually, in this position. Maybe if white has, like, 2 more tempos in this position, like 2 more developing tempi, he's winning. But he doesn't, and the computer says this is possible, but this is not the direction that I want to go in. I want to go knight h6 again, h3. So let's just start by getting this out of the way. Taking on h6, also to my surprise, to be honest, in some cases, like, is just never good. And the point is that the bishop pair just rules this position completely, and white's king is much weaker than ours. Again, so just check, bishop c5, something like this. Queen comes to g5, we're threatening the mate and the knight. White doesn't lose, like, in one move because he's got queen g3, but he is much worse / losing. So if he doesn't take on h6, okay, let's say h3, we castle, takes, Again, taking is bad, but instead white goes knight d2. And only after f5, again, I already love black's position, but only after f5 can he and should he take. We're also threatening like f4 to trap the bishop, but he should take now and take on f5. The difference is that now, I mean, this is still incredibly scary for white, but the center was blasted open, and the knight finds this square on e4, so like white has some more trumps to make up for giving up the bishop on h6. So this is for f4. Anyways, in this final position, like this is just mad stuff, and I really like black's position, but knight d2 is the main stuff. Now we go for this move, bishop g5, just trying to trade off the bishops. I'm not sure, probably you can also win knight h6. I didn't really investigate that. But bishop g5 just makes sense to my eyes, just trading off these, like our bad bishop. I mean, we've seen plenty of occasions where the bishop becomes like the MVP, but as long as white doesn't help it, this is our bad bishop, structurally speaking. Again, this move queen b3, it's sort of thematic, going after the pawn. We have to go b5. We're not in time now to like sack the pawn and do some crazy stuff, so we go b5, a4. Again, you'll notice that white is just playing like all the best moves. A4, so we take queen a3, putting pressure on d6. We have to go bishop b5. And now the best line, yeah, according to the computer, is knight c4, take. White throws in this intermezzo, all very like high level stuff. We cannot drop back because he takes on b5, and we are pinned to the rook. So instead we just sidestep, and we reach this crazy position as well, where basically the computer claims this is a draw because white's king is too open. I mean, I'm not sure. Like, okay, there are some universes where white can lose this game. Probably that there are more where black can lose this game than white. So all in all, yeah, bishop h5 is really the fun stuff, the main stuff. But this bishop d7 also seems to be very reliable. So now let's come back, and I have another crazy idea to show you after this h3. So again, this came from bishop e7. And I guess the point of starting with bishop e7 and not with knight f6 will be even best revealed here after h3. So it happens that in these, like in this Rossolimos, where white often, I mean, temporarily hinders his development here and really constrains his development in order to try and push d4. It so happens that in these lines, sometimes black can go for these crazy ideas like g5. And this is one such case. And I just love when these things work out. So g5, and what the hell is the idea? The idea is to just go h5. And this is crazy. Like this seems like a freaking, noob level chess, but it's the Stockfish's top recommendation. So we go for this crazy stuff. Like, we are banking on the fact that white cannot open up the position that quickly. I mean, he can do this, which is what everyone does, but somehow our weaknesses are well defended for the time being, and we'll just make good use of our time, our limited time, to go g4 and again try to barbarically mate white's king. Okay, two moves here, bishop c4 and knight fd2. We'll start with bishop c4. We keep pushing, and yeah, like bishop c4 has two ideas. One is to allow knight d2 to f1, and the other one is to go for this queen d5, which is quite well spotted by white already. Let's just say he trades, for example. Trading is usually just terrible for white. Apart from some special circumstances. But let's say white goes for something natural like this. He's already lost. We just play, honestly, like natural moves. Bishop g5. Trade this. Queen h4. He's not getting mated immediately, but just knight e7. Long castles next. And soon we won't even have, like, all of the craziness that we had to endure in order to play this won't even be felt, because we'll just get a safe king's position and just continue attacking. Like, we already have all of the work cut out for us in terms of attacking. Instead, like, queen d5 is the main idea. Now there's even two possibilities. My main way is to go rook h7. I will just briefly say that it's also like possible if you're not in such a fighting mood. I mean, if you're not in a fighting mood, why did you pick this variation anyways? But it's also possible to go for this weird looking endgame. There was some game by Adiba in a rapid team championship, like one of those world championship events. But here, white is just much better. Instead, we should take, and then rook d3, and we're threatening to take and take on h3, and black now has plenty of compensation. Anyways, like we didn't play this variation to chicken out to an endgame, so rook h7. We give him this pawn. We take on h3. And again, like if white doesn't know this position, he would falter very quickly, I think. This happened in a game that we're still following a game by played last year by Cacciavara against Banush. Two grandmasters. So the queen goes for this funny geometry, and basically we'll get down to endgame very quickly, where black is just slightly better. Pawns are equal, and yeah, black has some pressure because of this weak pawn, and in general our pieces are slightly better, but the game ended in a draw. So this is for this move bishop c4. Then we have knight d2, where we go g4 again, of course. And I was actually very surprised to know when I was preparing this material for this video that a good friend of mine, Pedro Gil, played this already. Like he played this from the white side against Del Rio in an open where I was also playing. Like we were actually in the same like hotel and everything. So the other guy played bishop g5, which is a mistake, because basically now there's no way for black to get his queen to h5 or something like this. He went queen f6 and he went queen e3. Better was rook d1. But the point still holds. Like black is not really mating, especially with this bishop around anytime soon. And at this point, it's black that really needs to be worried. So instead, queen c7 and just going for long castles. And again, like once black goes long castles and sort of consolidates, his position just looks good and is good. Instead of it being like this sort of hack attack type stuff, it's just a position that looks good. Okay, here the computer gives some advantage to black. I just think the position is rather unclear. I mean, yeah, white has some problems in terms of his piece placement, but black is not really forcing a mate anytime soon. So I just think that this is a position that is open for like 3 results. Also, a really nice idea is here, if knight d5, we can take, go f5. I just thought this was delicious. And yeah, if he takes on c6, we take back with the bishop, with a discovered attack on the queen. And yeah, as soon as this bishop like is traded or lost, white just gets mated in no time. Okay, so this was the most fun stuff, and now I just want to get a hair or two out of the way before we wrap up the video. So back here, yeah, we've been seeing this move castles. The last couple of lines, one will be rather short, and we'll just cover some alternatives. So yeah, we can start with white taking immediately on c6 without even being provoked. If he goes for this e5 move again, as we had previously seen that this was like better for white when a6 and castles were included. Okay, here we have a very direct solution, which is not that hard to remember. We can take queen d5. So taking advantage of the pawn being on g2. I mean, every time, like, let's say you know a line and you know a line, right? That is good. And your opponent plays something else, like you should get on your thinking hat immediately and try to find ways, try to reason what would be the drawbacks of the line he played versus the line that you know. Because there's always drawbacks. With every move that you play in chess, there are drawbacks. And here, this is just a prime example of that. This is something that, let's say I didn't know bishop takes e6 immediately and e5 was an option. I could come up with this over the board because I could think, okay, what are the drawbacks? Like white has yet to castle. We can take on queen d5. Attacking the knight, attacking g2. After knight f3, bishop g4. Black is just completely fine. We're just taking on f3 next and wrecking white's pawn structure back. Instead, if he castles, it's important that we go for e5 now. Again, white could have some ideas of going e5 himself, so it's important that we stop this. And there are still plenty of games here, but this line is not that popular for white. I should just mention by far here, castling and going for this plan with rook e1, c3, d4 is the main stuff, by far. Okay, if he goes for this, yeah. Now we'll just play in a sort of a conventional manner. We have the bishop pair, so we can just go for some position like this, and basically it's just a normal game for 3 results. I think that white is slightly better in objective terms, like, but it's one of those positions where it's really just a fight, because, yeah, he's slightly better because of the space and the like, he gets more piece activity for himself because of the space, but in return we have the bishop pair, which is just a really long-term asset. I wouldn't feel uncomfortable here with black. Okay, there's also this move c3, which is the last thing I want to look at. And yeah, we go knight f6. Again, we have to think, like, what is the drawback of going c3 before going castles and then rook e1 and c3? And the drawback here is that after knight f6, white does not have the move rook e1, which he would ideally want to do. Rook e1 and then tuck the bishop back on f1 and then push for d4. He cannot do it, so he must find another way to defend the pawn, either queen e2 or d3. If d3, now bishop d7, again stopping this idea. Castles a6, again taking advantage of the things that white is basically giving us in relation to the other variation, because here he cannot, like, drop the bishop back. Bishop c4, we can just go after the bishop, so this is not good. Bishop a4 is better, and after just some natural moves. Again, this h3 to prepare d4, otherwise there would be some stuff with bishop g4, as we've seen. h3, castles, d4, b5, this, take. For a moment, like, white has this sort of powerful looking center, but we go e5, and this is very, very comfortable, because I mean, this just reminds me of some Lopez positions where we're just a bunch of tempi up, because, like, the bishop is already in its ideal square, the bishop is on d7, the pawn is on b5. Like, we have a lot of things going for us here if we compare this to, like, the, what is it called, the Chigardi variation of the Ruy Lopez. So yeah, if white takes, we're just completely fine, and if he goes d5, we'll go after the bishop. We'll also be fine. To wrap this up, queen e2, we go bishop g4. So now white will have some ideas of going d4, maybe taking or even without taking. We can go bishop g4 also, like, other moves are possible. But we can go for this. This makes sense to me. So we are giving up the bishop pair, and in the beginning of the video, I briefly mentioned, like, the main line that is just considered to be slightly better for white because of the bishop pair. Here, things are different, just mainly for concrete issues, like white doesn't have that great of a piece coordination. For example, if a4, we can just go a6, and this is just completely equal. I mean, we have no problems here whatsoever. We got the bishop pair back and so on. And if knight e3, which is this still has some games from, like, notable players like Kamsky. Yeah, we just set up with g6, bishop g7, so we're stopping d4. And again, the queen is rather misplaced, and we'll have some ideas with knight e5 and so on. So for example, rook e1 castles, bishop f1. For example, white here has consolidated with the bishop pair, but we are up a lot of temp in terms of development. So for example, the computer recommends this move, which is quite interesting in my eyes. Rook d8, the point is to go for this, d5, take. And yeah, again, this is a position that is open for 3 results, quite interesting. Like, white has the bishop pair, we have more space and better pieces, maybe slightly better pieces. And yeah, we'll just go e6, rook d7, we have a rock solid position, our knights are pretty good. And if white goes d3, yeah, he'll have to reckon with that weakness forever. Okay, guys, so that is it for this video. Maybe I will leave you with this pretty picture of going g5 here. Yeah, it ended up being a bit long, so it's like a mini repertoire really with black in the Rossolimo. And if you play these lines, or if you want to give them a go, do that. This is also very applicable for, I mean, all levels, honestly. I mean, I guess that in the lower levels, people aren't really going to play this much theory against you, so you can't really get all the ideas there. But there's still some ideas that you can take away from this video. And in the higher levels, like this is applicable for all time controls against most opponents. Again, this game was like yesterday. This game, I forgot to mention the players, but this one with the crazy bishop f2 that was missed. This was Bartosz Sochko against Loic Travadon. I hope I'm pronouncing the names correctly or not too badly. This was just yesterday, and White did not know. I mean, White knew quite a lot, but at some point he didn't know more. And yeah, he could have lost. I mean, these positions are really sharp. So that's it for today, guys, and I'll see you soon with the next video. Bye.